Good afternoon and welcome to today's presentation of Interpersonal Communication, Enlarging My Conversation. My name is Jennifer Allen and today's presentation is from the Human Services 508 class at Liberty University. Interpersonal communication is a type or kind of communication that happens when the people involved talk and listen in ways that maximize the presence of the personal. Interpersonal communication is a subset of communication in general. This means that collaboration, choices, culture, identities, conversation, and nexting are all parts of interpersonal communication too. Interpersonal communication takes place when communication emphasizes the person involved rather than their roles or stereotypical characteristics. My overarching goal is to continue to grow spiritually and allow God to do a miraculous work in my life so that I am able to do the work He has set in His design plan. My overarching goal is to develop skills to become a better communicator through witnessing and counseling couples experiencing divorce and unhealthy relationships, and ultimately enlarging the kingdom of God. Hebrews 10 and 25. Let us encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Next slide. Enlarging my conversation. Defining the term. To be creative in my approach to connect with people aside from the norm. To make my conversation meaningful. To avoid using the sameness approach. And also to challenge myself to explore deeper into the conversation on different levels, personally, professionally, and spiritually. Next slide. Our conversations are a reflection of who we are, where we have been, and where we're going. Scott suggests that our lives either fail or succeed gradually, and then suddenly, one conversation at a time. Scott also suggests that our conversation is the relationship. Next slide, please. Ephesians 4 and 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. Next slide, please. Enlarging my conversation. To enlarge my conversation, I must identify my uniqueness as well as weaknesses in areas of improvement. I must include prayer in my daily walk with Christ and seek God for spiritual guidance and direction. I must also develop and or enhance my communication style. And ultimately, I must be mindful and cautious of communication traps. Peterson defines communication traps as a style that is commonly used every day and routinely keep us from listening well and get in the way of good, clean communication. Next. Influences of conversation, background, and behavior blend. My background. I come from a large family of talkers and very little listeners. We often engage in competitive conversation, and we often avoid sensitive family issues. We are overly sensitive and emotional, and we are always willing to come to the rescue of a family member. Next slide, please. Behavior blend. The definition of the term behavior blend is a combination of different personality types or styles. There are 4 basic types commonly known as D, I, S, and C behaviors. These 4 types are also known as temperaments. They blend together to determine your unique personality. These personality types support the understanding of who we are as individuals, our thoughts, emotions, interpretations, perceptions, and most importantly, how we respond, react, and or communicate with one another. Next slide, please. Understanding my behavior blend, which is the DSC personality type. I am often seen as a blend of strength, sensitivity, and serious thinking. My vision is widespread and focused. I tend to see the big picture. My leadership style is more of a mixture of active and passive behavior. I prefer to deal with conflicts directly, but tend to approach them gingerly and analytically. Most of our problems at work stem from personality clashes. Even among good friends and relatives, most of our hurts come from personality conflict. Next slide. Positive and negative influences of my background and behavior blend. Some positive influences: I'm open, honest, and understanding, always willing to help out others. I take the initiative to help others resolve or solve their problems. Some negative influences: I am often taken advantage of, or my kindness is often seen as a weakness. I am often overwhelmed with other people's problems. Next slide, please. I have identified 4 potential barriers to interpersonal contact: perception, reception, and attention. Depending on the listener's motives, perception, reception, and attention alters the conversation. Another barrier is hearing what you want to hear. And this is when a person hears what they want to hear and not what is communicated. Another barrier is biased listening. Biased listening is when opinions are formed about levels and values of what will be said. And lastly, a potential barrier is fatigue. When you don't feel up to par, you have a more difficult time being attentive. Next slide. Internal and external noise pollution. Noise pollution is defined as a noise that is annoying and causes a distraction and possible harmful to others. Internal noise pollution are things inside that prevent us from communicating effectively, such as personal beliefs, stereotypes, daydreaming, and rehearsing what you are going to say next. External noise pollution are outside ourselves that distract us from communicating effectively, such as background noises, traffic, movement, as well as music or clock ticking. Next slide. Plan of action: eliminating barriers. I must first develop techniques to avoid potential barriers. I must avoid distractions such as internal and external noise pollution. And lastly, I must realize the importance of having clear outcomes when influencing others. Next slide, please. Plan of action for improving interpersonal communication. I must embrace my uniqueness. I must determine the cause for potential barriers. I must allow God to reveal His desire for my life. I must also improve listening skills and become a level 1 listener. And finally, I must refrain from forming opinions and passing judgment. Thank you for your participation, and I hope you have enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.